Hey everyone, I'm Alexis the Ego Queen. Love me. I know you do. Anyway, today I'm going to be talking about something that's sort of my element, not really my element, but I'm kind of getting in there. But I have a very special guest with me today. It is Pablo. You are Pablo. All right, you know what? You introduce yourself. I tried twice.
Up from Frontline Gaming. I'm also the host and founder of Chapter Tactics, a 40K competitive podcast, and my company Frontline Gaming hosted the Las Vegas Open. And if you guys have heard of the Las Vegas Open, if you guys have not heard of Las Vegas Open, it's the largest single tournament 40K championships tournament. We hit 478 players, 470-ish players. I forgot the exact number at the end. We hit a lot of players, and it's also a convention in Las Vegas, so there's a lot of other stuff like X-Wing, 30K, narrative events, etc., etc. Good time.
Yeah, Las Vegas Open. I didn't get a chance to go this year. I'm planning to go next year. That's definitely on the needs to happen list. But
so you're always invited.
Well, thank you.
So we love having personalities come out. And that's one of the big draws of the LVO. Is we had like Mini Wargamer Dave, we had Paul Murphy, we had obviously the GW guys, obviously the Frontline guys, and a bunch of other Mini Wargaming was there. A lot of the big personalities and community leaders in our community go to the Las Vegas Open. You coming would be no exception to that.
I can't wait. I'm going to be moving out to Arizona at the end of this year. So I will be nice and close. And that's going to be awesome. So the main reason I asked you to join me, aside from I missed you, we're buddies and everything, is let's talk about the LVO. Let's talk about the big lists that were there. Let's talk about the winners. Let's talk about some drama because, you know me, I love my drama. Let's talk about some of the crazy things that happened there, some of the other events that you ran there, and what you want for the future of LVO.
That sounds perfect. Where do you want to start? There's a lot to go. There's so much that went on. I'm in LVO overload mode right now.
Yeah, this is why I wanted to get you right now, right as it's fresh in your brain. Let's start with the top 5.
So the top 8, Sunday, essentially the LVO winds down to a 3-day event culminating in the top 8 on Sunday, which is day 3. It's a single elimination seeded bracket. The top 8 finalists from the previous 6 rounds of the previous 2 days, compete in a tournament. And because of the nature of the Las Vegas Open, how many people show up, in the nature of the ITC points and how they're scored, essentially, usually the winner of the LV or the top 8, or someone who performs really well in the top 8, wins that big ITC championship prize, which this year was $4,000, a $4,000 big check. So that's why the top 8 is this big deal. For those of you who haven't heard of it.
So I gotta cut you off really quickly. Just letting you know, with $4,000, you could buy multiple armies, or you could buy 2 patrol detachments of sisters.
2 patrol detachments. That sounds a little. That sounds a lot, Alexis.
It. Oh my God! When I saw that, did you see that it sold out?
The Las Vegas Open?
No. The patrol detachment for the Sisters of Battle on
GW
site.
That's gone.
Yeah, because they're actually doing surprisingly well in tournament scenes.
They are doing really well. Unfortunately, we didn't have any dominant sister players at the Las Vegas Open. They definitely were there, though the competition was fierce. And if you're not prepared for a very specific list, which we will talk about certainly in the next 5 minutes, you're going to be in for a rough time. And unfortunately, I don't know if the sisters players who play the game who do really well and follow the meta. I don't know if they either just thought their lists would do really well against this particular list, or if they changed it and changed too much, or I don't know. I don't know what the story is there. That's definitely something I'll have to ask them in the future for all of them that attended.
And I'll be going over my Sisters of Battle list as well, because, you know, I got some pretty good moves myself.
The Nova Open. We
Yeah.
played a little exhibition game, and I have to say I played really well. I thought I played really well. I was in top tournament form when I played you, and you outplayed me. You just outplayed me. No luck involved or anything. I was just outplayed. One little Alexis Ego Queen sneaky move onto a building from a repressor that I thought I had killed, and then from there she just pushed my flank and won. It was great.
That move, though, you saw exactly what I did after I did it. Like, you knew exactly why I positioned my tank there.
So it was a brilliant move, though. But anyways,
yeah,
going
back
to
to
the
top
top
eight.
eight.
Top eight.
Yeah, the top eight. So just to give you guys a rundown of the list of the top eight, there's going to be a lot of hate, and I would like to default and call this top eight a top 9, because we did have one person who made the top 8, but they gave up their spot in the top 8. So the top 8 asterisk +1. What I'm going to call this top 8 list. So anyways, we had 4 Eldar lists make the top 8 for sure. We had Sean Naden, Nick Nanavati, Brad Chester. Well, no, not Brad Chester. He was the added on. So Sean Naden, Nick Nanavati, Tony Grappando, Jeff Poole players. Sean Naden, Tony Grappando, and Nick Nanavati are considered the best players. I would probably put them, if you were to rank all the 40K players in the world, top 100 best in the world right now, they would probably all make the top 5. I think.
Holy crap.
I think that's not a stretch. That's something that I think the majority of the competitive community could agree, and it's only arguable at best. So these guys, they know their stuff. They all play Eldar, and they actually, before the LVO, spent 2 weeks at one of their houses and just shut themselves out from the world and played hundreds of games to figure out the perfect Eldar list. So for those of you who might think like Eldar are really dominant right now, they are, but these guys, you have to keep in mind, these guys spent weeks and weeks training together to come up with this perfect meta list tuned exactly to the Las Vegas Open. So there were a lot of Eldar at the Las Vegas Open. I've got the numbers to prove it, but Eldar aren't as big of a problem as a lot of people are jumping to.
I do want to cut in right there really quickly. I got a taste of what Tournament Eldar was, and it proved very quickly that I was not the power gamer that I thought I was.
And these particularly hurt for Sisters, because Sisters have T3 bodies, and Dark Reapers do a pretty good job of killing repressors out, just outright, or you can touch them. And Sisters have this hard problem where they have to, they basically have to live in the middle of the board and in firing lanes, which means if there's ruins inside the middle of the board spaced out, you can hide infantry in those ruins, close combat infantry, like Shining Spears are not close combat infantry, but Shining Spears can definitely hide in ruins. Same thing with close combat Eldar characters, Howling Banshees, Striking Scorpions, though they're not nearly as good. They're more niche. But you get my point. Is if you can hide infantry in there, like solitaires and stuff, and Sisters can't really fight back out of that because they're repressors. They can definitely shoot the Eldar when they get a chance. But I feel like Sisters aren't as well equipped to deal with Eldar as other armies, though they're not the worst by any means. They're probably middle of the road.
I mean, they're that T3, once they're out in the open, once my repressor is cracked, I just count my Dominions as dead. I'm just like,
that happens often.
They're gone.
Yeah. So Eldar players, those are the 4 Eldar players that made the top 8. There was one pure Blood Angels player.
Oh, nice.
My
Not
hero.
Soup?
No, Mark Wright. He had pure Blood Angels players. He had Intercessor Primaris Marines, so the troop choice. He didn't even have the good Primaris Marines. He had the probably arguably the worst ones. So let me finish. This guy's my hero. So Mark Wright is a perennial 0 and 6er at tournaments. He's a fun guy. He believes in running pure lists. He was probably the epitome or the quintessential average player of 40K who goes to tournaments and wants to have like a good time with his beautiful Blood Angels army, play a pure Blood Angels list, play people who are like-minded, stay away from the cheese and the net lists, and kind of do his own thing, right? Like that's what he does. And he's a really intelligent guy, and just he's been. I found out. And I want to give Mark credit where credit's due if he's listening to this. At first, I trashed him a little bit. I thought, oh man, he got like really lucky, because it's surprising. Like think about the worst or some of the worst performing players at your local tournament if you do go to tournaments or leagues, and then imagine them going 6-0, highest level tournament in the world. Places where people like Paul Murphy go. Right, Kenny Boucher, who's a really good player, he gets a lot of rep online, but he's still a really good player. He really is. He's been around forever. 20 of the top 30 in the ITC, right? There's almost 500 players, and half of them are probably in the top 250 in the ITC easily. And the rest of them are all players, big fish in little ponds, right? People who travel from Alaska, Australia, Canada. So this is the best of the best, and he goes 6-0. Mark Wright is the man, but I found out he's been training for this. He wants to prove that you can make the top 8 and you can do well with a pure list as long as you're smart about it. And he did it. He did a great job. So Mark is my hero. He made the top 8 with pure Blood Angels. I don't know his exact list.
One of the worst units in the Codex.
Yes, and he played phenomenally. He did. He didn't play slouches. So I'm very proud of him. There were 2 Imperial soup-ish lists. There was a Blood Angels list, Blood Angels / Guard list. So it's like a 50-50 Blood Angels Guard, ran by Mike Brandt, the head of the Nova. So there's that. He did really well. He knocked my favorite to win the whole tournament out of the round in round 6. And I think he surprised a few people. I think he surprised everyone but himself, to be honest, because he's a very confident person. So Mike Brandt won with Blood Angels and Guard, and then Alex Fennell, who you guys will definitely hear more about as we talk more about the LVO, because he turned out to be the class act gentleman of the LVO. He turned out to be the big story that came out of this year's Las Vegas Open. So Alex Fennell, he ran Space Wolves, which is what his faction was, because actually Imperium Soup featuring Space Wolves. So if you can imagine like a Rihanna tape featuring DJ, blah blah blah. Same thing. Imperial Soup was his list. It revolved around a lot of characters. I think he had 7 Thunder characters on Thunderwolves.
Holy
6
crap.
or 7. Yeah. Oh yeah. He had 3 assassins. One of each. He had one of each assassin minus the Vindicare.
Well, the Vindicare is not really worth it in my opinion, but that's
It's not. Yeah, this Alex is playing for blood. He had a fun, crazy list, but it's not a bad list. It's a weird list. So he has these assassins. He has all the Thunderwolves. He has some smattering of Psychers and some Guard, and that's his list. It doesn't make any sense, but he abuses the character role and close combat. He's a close combat monster.
That freaking character role. Oh my god, it gets to me. I hate it so much.
And that list is actually deceptively hard to pilot as well. So I have to give Alex credit for that. It's a very good list. It's a very well-crafted list, and I think a lesser player would probably go 0-6 with it more often than not. And then finally, the non-Eldar player that dropped out, Joshua Death. Joshua Death was running basically Chaos Soup. He was running a little bit of Chaos Space Marines, a little bit of Chaos Demons, and like 700 points in reserve points.
Holy crap!
Yeah. So he was running the Toolbox Chaos Soup army. He was bringing the absolute best units that both armies provided, in Chaos Demons and Chaos Space Marines, and then 700 plus reserve points. So he summon whatever he wants. He has the Chaos army to do that too. So he kind of just picked whatever he wanted, summoned it. Bloodletters to charge out of summon reserve at 3d 6 inches. Pink Horrors to drop down with 1 billion shots. Whatever he needed to, he summoned it. He got it. But what happened with Josh Death was his last game with round 6 with Brad Chester was decided by 1 point.
Oh my god!
Oh yeah, it was a close game. It was intense. I was there. 1 point, and then in the morning of the top 8, Brad Chester goes up to Josh Death, and he says, "Hey Josh, we're going through our scores, and I realized that we never recorded my 2 points for for the Reaper, which is one of our ITC secondary missions. And Josh was like, "Oh shoot, I don't remember that." And they talked to a judge, and this has come up with LVO before. And the typical responses from us is, "Sorry, the scores are already in the books."
Yeah.
Right. And then this is what any professional league would do, right? Like the NFL. If you follow the NFL, I'm a big NFL fan. There was a time when the 49ers made the playoffs with Steve Mariucci. They kicked a field goal, and then the next morning they showed videotapes of this field goal, and it was actually the ball didn't go through the goalpost. It just looked like it did, and then bounced out. So the call was wrong, and the coach was like, when they asked him about it in the press conference, he was just like, "Bummer." I do. Josh Death didn't do that. He believed Brad Chester first off, which is a very honorable thing to do, and then second off, he fought to Brad Chester.
Wait, can you repeat that? You cut out for a second.
Oh, that's fine. So only did he believe Brad Chester and trust him, but he also gave up his spot to Brad Chester in the top 8 so that Brad could play in the top 8.
Holy crap!
Because he felt like Brad. Yeah, this is a chance at some serious prize support. Like Josh wasn't in the runnings for the ITC championship. I think he might have been, but I don't think he would have gotten it. Or like you're gonna win something. This is serious stuff. It's the top 8 at the LVO, and he gave it to Brad Chester. I thought it was very honorable of him. He does have a bit of a bad rep in the 40K community, the competitive community at the moment. But he's definitely showing that he's taking steps to rectify that and be a better person, which I
yeah, you have to give him credit where credit is due.
Yes. Unfortunately, what that did was that led to a 5th Eldar player making the top 8 in Brad Chester, who's also a phenomenal player. He's also one of those players that went in that 2-week recreation period building that super Eldar list with Nick Nadavati, Sean Naden, and Tony Grappando. So he's also one of those elite players.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately he also beat my friend Mark, the guy with the Pure Blood Angels, as well.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I was bummed. I was like, "Josh, I think you just sentenced Mark to death," and he's like, "No, Mark's got it." And then halfway through Mark's game, we're like, "Oh no,
yeah,
he's in trouble." So it's okay. It's all drama. That's all tournament drama. And at the end of the day, we all had a great time, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, I got some notes here as well. I'm just reading them real quick. So after that, the big headline after that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to talk about here. So I've heard about Tony Grappando and the Tony got Tony meme going on over the weekend. I don't know if you got wind of that, Alexis, at all.
Yeah, I did. I have one friend. He talks a big game, but he doesn't. He's a small YouTuber. Whatever. He loves talking a big game, so I did hear about this through him.
So, for those of you who want to know the truth, this is exactly what happened, word for word. I was there. I asked everyone involved just to make sure and clarify that this is exactly what happened. So, essentially, Tony Grappando and Alex Fennell came to the agreement, a gentleman's agreement, that they were going to play faster. This is during their stream match in the second round of the Las Vegas Open. So this is all on Twitch. Page Twitch at this point. So there's thousands of people watching this. And a misconception there. They did agree to play faster and be gentlemanly about this very specific thing, but they were both playing very and clean, right? And I think that was the overall feel of the game. So when Alex Fennell moved his Abyssor Assassin in the middle of his movement phase onto the board, Tony said, "Hey, your movement phase is over. You can't move those Thunderwolves." And it cost Alex the game. Like there's no question that it ended Alex's movement phase, and Alex, being the gentleman that he was of course upset, right? Because that's a very dick thing to do. It is. It's not. It's the right thing to do in a tournament setting. I think so. Nice thing to do. And just the feel of the chat and the feel of the table were different. The chat thought that they were playing really friendly and really gentlemanly, and Grappando and Alex knew that there was higher stakes in this game. So
yeah.
So essentially, and Tony he wasn't super nice about it. He wasn't very apologetic about it, and so it painted Tony in this really negative, villainous light. And Alex, being Alex, class act Britishman, gentleman, afterwards, went up on stage or went up with the interview and said, that was absolutely the right call. At first I was really mad, but I felt like Tony did the right thing, and I wish Tony all the best. Just a really good positive talk, which only propped up Alex more. And Mark Merrill, the co-founder of Riot, creator of a little game called League of Legends, saw this on Twitch, and he tweeted out to us, Frontline Gaming, and said, "Hey, Alex, he's a sportsman. I want to promote him. I want more sportsmen in the community." And so reached out to us to raise $5,000 for Alex. Okay. So you could have, just for being a great sport. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, this is awesome. So Alex is going to get $5,000. We have a villain in Tony. This drama is building up. Alex goes on afterwards, and when he finds out that Mark Mello proposes this, on cue, he said, "Oh, that's great. I can donate it to the children's hospital that my wife works at."
Oh my God.
It's like, okay, Alex, you're an amazing guy. We get it.
This guy's going full living saint on you at this point.
Right, but he's like this. He's genuine. This is just how he is. So Tony just beat this amazing gentleman, this great guy that we all wanted to see, with a Space Wolves army, right? Because it was still technically, it was mostly Space Wolves. So even though it was Imperial Soup, so he beat this gentleman with a different army other than Eldar, right? So Tony's this villain, and I think the internet is wrongly crucifying him at this point. He's in general a really great guy. He really is. But he got focused on that prize because he's playing for $4,000.
Yeah,
so that sets up.
There's a different thing. It's $4,000. It's, you're not looking at the person anymore. You're looking at the prize.
Wants to prove that he's the best, because Tony's never made the top 8 at the LVO, to my knowledge, and he's also obviously never won the LVO, and he's considered one of the better players in the world. So this would go, winning the LVO for him not only would win him $4,000, top Eldar, best at the LVO, but also just cement his legacy a little. So on the flip side, we have Nick Nanavati. Nick Nanavati is right now unquestionably the best 40K player. I could probably spend an hour just talking about all the tournaments he's won and all the things he's done for the community. Nick shows up and he's playing Tony, and Nick Nanavati has this kind of drunken kung fu master charm about him. He's very loose. Yeah, that's just how I describe him, because every time I watch him play, he plays very loose. He's not the kind of guy who would play and move every model exactly 6.000 inches and know every rule to a T. He's very loose. He's a very good player. Their styles are kind of clashing a little, and like Tony's like this villain, this intense guy who really wants to win. He's the front runner. Nick Nanavati is not the top ITC player. He's right below Tony, but he's charming. Yeah, he's definitely a lot more loose. And they get to this point when Tony wants to charge with a unit that advanced. So there's a stratagem that Eldar have that you need to use when the Eldar unit that you want to charge in advance in the movement phase. So when you move them. So Tony didn't use this stratagem in the movement phase. Oh, no. So when he went to charge this unit in the charge phase, Nick Nanavati said, "Hey." And Tony was like what? It was clearly that was intent. And Nick's like, "Hey, man, you know what? I normally wouldn't do this, but because you did that to Alex, I'm going to have to call you on that so you can't charge them." And, mic drop. The chat went crazy. Everyone. So that's where the Tony got Tony thing. And this was instant karmic justice. Oh, yeah. It was, and I feel really bad for Tony. Part of me is kind of like, right. Like part of me is like, ha, gotcha. But at the same time, I know Tony, so that was fleeting. That gotcha, haha was fleeting. And I felt bad for Tony, but it definitely showed what comes or what comes around. I don't know that saying at all.
What goes around comes around.
What goes around comes around. It definitely showed that and proved that. So Nick, he pulled that on him. The chat blew up. Everyone's going crazy. The Tony got Tony meme, and the video got born. People started putting it on T-shirts, and Nick Nanavati wins the entire Las Vegas Open, which means he wins Best Eldar at the LVO, Best Eldar in the ITC, Best Player at the LVO, and the ITC Champion. Incredible. It's like Nick stole all these accolades away that Tony was going to win, And it was really great. There was a lot of good controversy, good drama.
I love me some good drama, and that was some juicy drama. I like that.
I could just imagine the look on your face, like just everyone. When Nick said that, everyone in the audience, like their jaws dropped, and then everyone started laughing and high fiving. It was great.
Well, that's what you have to do, though. Actually, I have I recently went to a tournament. It was my first real ITC tournament, and I think I did pretty good. I didn't get enough points to, like, place or anything, but I did exactly 50-50. I got dead middle of the standings, 47 people involved. I got 20th. I still consider that middle, whatever. But the first person that I was playing against, I put Sisters of Battle on top of a building after he blew up the repressor, tactic I used against you. And then he killed a character, so I ran them... No, They were on top of the building. He had a bloated flight... the stupid fly thing.
What's it? Light drone.
Thank you. Because I always get that one and the forge-rolled one mixed up. He had that sitting right next to them. And I was just like, damn it. So I'm just looking at it. He goes into the assault phase. And he assaults a unit. He assaults one of my magnifiers and kills it. And I just look at him. I'm like, I'm going to use Martyrum. And he's just like, okay. So I lower my command points. And he's like, okay, I'm going to pass. Wait, I'm going to assault. But he said it as the judge was just standing there like, you just passed your turn. Martyrum goes off. I'm going to shoot all my flamethrowers at this drone and kill it. And I was just sitting there like, I'm sorry, you said you ended. But...
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because that you're in the wrong there. Especially if he's self-policing himself. But
this guy was rules lawyering me all game, so it was.
Oh, so he got a little bit of justice there. But so the thing is that there's this really interesting. There's really interesting paradox or I don't want to say like, what's that word when you contradict yourself?
I know it. It starts with an H.
Hypocrisy.
Thank you. That's it.
There's this kind of weird hypocrisy in the community, in that people should know their rules and play clean games and know their stuff, but at the same time, like if you call people on it, or if you play properly, quote unquote, where you follow the rules of the game, you're perceived as kind of a dick, right? But it's not always the case. It's really weird.
See, I get away with it because I'm cute. Just saying.
And that's the thing as well, is if certain people get away with it over others, right? Like, I know people who are hated, who are absolutely despised for doing the same things I do. And I think I'm a little bit nicer about it when I compare myself to some of them, but in general, like, I'm doing the same things they're doing. And I'm saying, like, I'm sorry, like, you already passed your move phase, you already shot that unit, you already advanced, or whatever, right? Whatever the thing is. Mm-hmm. I think for those of you at home who want to try and find a balance, this is the clearest and easiest balance that I've found. You give your opponent one take back, always, and you tell them that too. So if they mess up, I always tell them you get one. So Alexis, if you move in advance your repressor or whatever, maybe you didn't move it far enough to hold on to an objective, you could be like, oh shoot, like, I'm actually scoring that objective, I'm 3.5 inches away. I'm like, okay, Alexis, you get one. This is a tournament game, I'm serious. If we're playing, if we're being really lighthearted and not caring, we're playing really loose, I'm not going to call you on anything. But if you start calling me on stuff, I'm definitely going to start.
Do you get those people in casual games?
Tournament games, narrative games, teaching games, like, you get them, they're everywhere. They're not just in tournaments. So I try to give my opponent one, because I understand I like giving my opponent the benefit of the doubt, because I like believing in the positives in people, and that people are actually a lot smarter than the internet calls them in general. Like, yeah. I think we are, as a society, really dumb. But as individuals, we're really intelligent.
I could agree with that.
Give them one. Yeah. So you give them one, and then you don't act like a dick about it.
Well,
Guys, like, I'm sorry.
the one thing that I try to do is I always when I know somebody missed a play, like when it's blatantly obvious to me, I just go, "Are you sure?"
That you could do that too.
Like, "Are you sure?
It,
Are you passing your turn?" Yes. Okay, I'm going to start my turn. And then if they say, "Oh shoot, I forgot something," I'm like, "I gave you time."
what's the difference between someone saying shooting phase and then you going like, you said shooting phase, and someone saying, I think I'm gonna go to the shooting phase, and then you ask them, are you sure? And then they're, that's the other thing too, is I like to talk a lot and I talk fast. So I'll say like in the charge phase, this under my breath, or I'll even just flat out say shooting phase. I've got like Freudian slips. My mind's going a million miles an hour.
Yeah.
So I'll say charge phase instead of psychic phase all the time. And I've had people try and call me on that. So like, oh, you said you went to your charge phase. And I'm like, dude, I'm in the middle of my movement phase. Why would I go to my charge phase? I never lose those arguments. But
it'd be so funny if you're actually like in the middle of like holding a model with a measuring tape. I'm clearly moving. Like, stop it.
But there are people like that, and I think if we all agree to let your opponent either physically move a model and change the game state, or tell you like, I am now moving to my chart, I declare my psychic phase, some big gesture.
Actually,
right,
when I played competitive Magic or competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, because I did that for a couple of years, I would always knock on the table if it was made of a hard substance. I'd be like, all right, main phase, battle phase, damage step, and I would go into that.
Clear. See, and I come from a competitive Magic background too, and I actually had this problem a lot. I would say pass or intern and just like not mean it, but I would do it. Like I'd be like, draw a card, pass, and like they'd be like, oh, okay, and then they draw a card and I'm screwed, right? So I always towards the end of my Magic career, I always told my opponents like, hey, I'm gonna say a lot. I could say end the game, I concede, but don't actually count it until like the game state makes sense. Like, because I'm just gonna keep talking. I'm not gonna stop talking, right? So I'm gonna declare phase. I'm gonna be like main phase 1 in the middle of my end phase.
Yep.
And like so what I say doesn't matter. My actions are going to show you. And then I also do the hand thing where you wave your turn away.
Yep.
A lot of Magic players doing that sideways.
Do that. Shuffle your hand. I shuffle my objective cards as though I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic.
Yeah, I do that same thing as well. When I'm playing like Maelstrom missions and stuff, I'll just shuffle my cards.
You have to you have to go really, really fast too, because it distracts your opponent.
Yeah, completely. Because if you shuffle your cards, they won't know what card you just drew, and then anyways, Magic. But essentially,
one quick thing, we did get a super chat, so I do want to interrupt because this is kind of like the go-to promise that I always do for super chats, where we answer the question immediately.
What's the super chat question?
What is a good wash for white paint? Because I tried it on one of my repainted Lunar Wolves, and I didn't like how it came out.
To answer this?
Yep.
And I don't paint. That's how excited I am. So if you're looking for a good wash, and you want cold, like a cold feel to your model, I would definitely go with a really light washed down rust blue, or the base, the blue base, for Citadel. So it's just basically like a. I'm staring at my paint rack right now and I can't read it. Fenrisian blue or something, but it's like the light bluish gray color that you get, just basically a light bluish gray. You water that down, and I found that actually works like really well for all my Grey Knight Purifier helmets, because they're all painted white. So I washed that blue color, go over with a little bit more white scar, and it gives it a really cool cold look that I really enjoy. So I would say that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, that's pretty spot on. I usually then afterwards dry brush it with a little tiny bit of gray. That's about it.
Gray is another good wash as well for white.
It is, but
you want more neutrality.
I like the dry brush of gray because it breaks up the white just that little tiny bit. Anyway,
I've actually never thought of that.
Well, yeah, I just painted up Kievan Strike, and I was just like, yeah, this guy is black. like every bit of his armor except for his arms, which are gigantic. Like he looks like he's doing jazz hands. I'm not gonna lie, Kevin Strike is just doing jazz hands.
He's like jazz hands but with lightning claws, jazz claws.
So it's like you have to paint this giant claw white, and it's just like, how do you break that up? Because it's a smooth surface, and I actually went around it with gray, and it looks really nice now.
Back to the tournament. That was pretty much the top 8. So that was the big.
So what did this is my question? What did the Eldar army look like? Like what units were in it? What was the crazy go-to thing? Was it just Ynnari with Dark Reaper bullcrap?
So kind of. If you guys, I'm just gonna drop this now because I'm probably gonna say it at least a few more times in the cast. But if you want to look at the Las Vegas Open list, for sure, 100%, you want to take your time with them, read them. The best Coast Bearings player app.
Okay.
100%. So you just Google your Apple iOS device, download the Best Coast Pairings player app. It does cost a subscription, but you have to understand that these guys are trying to keep the lights on, and what the service they're providing allows people like me to bring, usage statistics to you guys, like where you can find out how orc players did against Dark Eldar players in the month of August, or whatever. The sky's the limit with that. So with those stats. And I think that's what everyone wants. So subscribing to them helps that. And you can also view lists. You can view all 470 plus lists at the Las Vegas Open, as well as the other events as well, for like the 30K event, the narrative event, or whatever ran the BCP app. So that's where you can find the lists.
I really gotta get a new phone so I can get all these cool apps. Like my phone is full. I hate it.
Guys, donate to Alexis's new phone fund, please. I agree. Getting a new phone for this app, if you play 40K, I would say at this point, if you're playing in North America 40K, traveling to tournaments, the BCP app is a requirement at this point. I would say maybe not the subscription, but at least downloading the app. It's that helpful. It's that useful. It's that universal.
But
they're running They're definitely a smattering of Dark Reapers for sure, 100%. Their Shining Spears are very popular in these lists. All of them use Ivrain to some effect.
She's got the booty.
Kitty cat and the booty. She's really good. They all have Warlocks, Farseers, good psychic support, because Eldar have the best psychic powers in the game, bar none. They have 24 psychic powers because they have 2 disciplines, and each power in the discipline is split into 2 powers, so that's 12 powers per discipline. That's 24 plus smite. So they get an insane amount of psychic powers. And Dark Reapers are great. They're a good catch-all unit. And Sean Naden's list is different from other Eldar lists in that he didn't bring a single Dark Reaper. And he runs kind of.
How?
So Sean Naden, if you haven't heard a brief history lesson on Sean Naden's probably in 40K. He's really good. He's a really good player too. He in the height of 6th edition when we had Tau Eldar and making super Death Star units with the Riptide, when you could create like a unit with like a Riptide and an Eldar Farseer in like the same unit when they could join.
Yeah, that was
Wave
little bit ridiculous.
And Stars, Chaos Demons, Flying Circus. In that meta, the height of that meta, Sean Naden won the Las Vegas Open with 18 Lictors.
Oh, he was the Lictor spam list.
He's the Lictor shame guy. He's the Lictor shame guy. So guy who you're dealing with. That's the kind of guy who plays those kind of weird lists. And so this list is similar to his Lictor shame list in the sense that it was Eldar, but it had a lot of weird Eldar goodness. So if you really want to see a good Eldar list, check out Sean Naden's list. It makes absolutely no sense. I guarantee you won't get it right away. I still don't even get it, and I've seen it a billion times.
Oh my god, that is terrific.
Yeah, but the rest of the Eldar list all had Dark Reapers.
Yeah, and for obvious reasons.
Yeah, they're really good. There's nothing right now in the game that compares to what Dark Reapers can do. in terms of their specific role. They're the best at what their role is, which is killing units consistently with shooting, sniping characters, line of sight blocking, terrain through line of sight blocking terrain, or just anything. Just killing hordes, characters, units, and buildings. They can do all that. They can keep
the repressor, the living saint, my other repressor, another repressor, the girls inside it, and my entire army in about 2 rounds of shooting. They're pretty good at shooting.
But so that's what the Eldar lists were designed. There's nothing special about them. You definitely have to watch out for the Shining Spears and them being able to charge with their Soul Burst action, because that gives the top players a lot of mobility and a lot of really interesting options and really weird combinations. Like I've seen them charge a single Shining Spear unit off of an Inari trigger to block a character from being shot at. Right, like I think he charged, like he made like an 8-inch charge to a Rhino around the corner, and that locked the Rhino in close combat, so the Shining Spear couldn't be shot. And then he consolidated onto an objective.
Oh my god!
In that same assault phase, so he like consolidated onto an objective. It was dirty. It was like the dude's shooting phase, all because he killed a Guardian next to the Shining Spear bike. It was dumb. I was like, oh wow, this Eldar can do this.
Well, I mean, in a sense, the sisters can do something similar with if a character dies. But that's if a character dies. And it's not as effective.
Everyone else has to pay command points, or...
Yeah, the Eldar just get to do it.
Take stuff. Yeah, they don't just get to do it, right? Like, it's not their chapter tactic. And I get that Inari don't have like -1 to hit army-wide. Like, I get that that's their thing. I get that. But their thing is very powerful. It got nerfed by GW.
It didn't get nerfed hard enough.
You know what? It got nerfed really well. It was a good nerf, but it got nerfed it probably got the biggest nerf of a single thing all season. I'm including Malefic Lords in that statement too. I think the Inari rule, the Strength and Death rule, got the biggest nerf out of everything, and it's still really good. That is insane.
Yeah. It is kind of insane.
So
it made me cry a lot.
It's definitely not good for the meta, I think, in terms of over centralization. So anyways, these Eldar lists, that's basically what they had. They had a smattering of that. Jeff Pool's list was the only different Eldar list, because Jeff wasn't a part of that Dream Team, summer retreat that they all had, or I guess winter retreat that they all had. Jeff was running 3 Crimson Hunters in a Lighthawk army with sorry man, you're a great guy too. I hate forgetting this list. I just remember the 3 Crimson Hunters because it was different and weird. I think he had like the usual suspects, Dark Reapers, Shining Spears as well, but the 3 Crimson Hunters was his unique thing in his list. And other than that, it was a fairly standard Eldar list, I want to say, though I might be completely wrong.
All right. So what about those Imperial Soup players? How many Guillimans were on the field?
Someone asked me an interesting question before the LVO, and we put a bet on it, and I haven't decided if I'm gonna. I haven't decided, but I haven't counted it yet to see if I win or not. But he's like, Pablo, what do you think you're gonna see more of at the LVO? Drop pods or Guilliman? Easy, Guilliman. But then I started thinking about it. I was like, wait a minute, everyone owns a drop pod.
Yeah, everyone owns drop pods aren't that good anymore.
But Guilliman isn't that good anymore. That's the thing. He's a unique model in a very niche list. Like there's only what, like, % of the armies that you'll see at the LVO. If you listen to Chapter Tactics, my competitive 40K podcast, we actually break down usage statistics for each faction. So how many people out of over 11,000 tournament rounds, how many people played Guilliman, or how many people played Ultramarines, how many people played Eldar, how many people played Chaos. And Space Marines usage was at the top, obviously, because they're a very popular army.
Yeah.
But the Imperium lists were near the bottom. They're rarely used. It was a very small faction, which I don't understand exactly. I think a lot of the quote unquote Imperium lists that people were looking at were just guard plus stuff, which isn't a soup. That's like a sandwich. Yeah, it's not. Guard plus stuff. Anyways, I didn't see a lot of Guillimans. I as I was walking around in the top 20, towards the end of the tournament, Worthington, and he was running 3 Fire Raptors plus Gilliman.
Yeah, always a good list.
Yeah, not a bad list. I don't know. So the point of all of this was Gilliman top 8 for sure. And he wasn't really seen often. Like, he wasn't something that you planned for outright to beat.
Well, I've noticed this with the Primarchs. In, like, smaller clubs and everything, the Primarchs reign supreme. But in bigger events, the Primarchs are kind of put on the afterburner.
Really true for a lot of things. Like, all the top 8 players, they ran Dark Reapers, but they didn't run Dark Reaper spam, which is another list that they stayed away from. Same thing with Fire Raptor. Fire Raptor spam is not good. Magnus and Mortarion, they're at the higher levels, they're not performing well.
Well, I mean,
they're
just
predictable.
Look at Magnus. He's an asshole, and no one should like him.
Right. I don't like Magnus either, but you know, these big models, these big predictable strategies at tournament level, they don't work. Casual level they do, because if you're a casual player, you're not building your list to win the game, or you're more like you're just bringing what you want, or bringing what you have. It's more of a narrative
thing.
Right. It is even really more of a narrative. Like, so at the casual level, those models are dominating, and GW should definitely think about the casual level when they're FAQing, not just the tournament level, because full meta, and there is a tournament meta.
And I know this is gonna sound stupid, but I really, really want the Primarchs to be put into open play.
That's tough, because GW's generally taken a stance of people can play with their toys.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's just like, I don't know where I sit right there. I want open play to have like its own unique style, and I think the Primarchs would fit that better than the competitive scene.
Yeah, I think you might be wrong, but I'll have to agree to disagree with you, because
no.
I am biased. I am biased because I love me some Gilliman.
Well, yeah, okay, have you watched my battle reports?
I've seen a few of them. I've not seen all of them.
Well, I always yell at you in them, which is the best thing ever. And
that's true.
For people who don't know this, at Nova Open, I took a die from Pablo, an ultramarine die.
Oh no.
Just a single dice. Or a single die. That die has yet to fail me. And I always go, come on, Pablo.
I didn't. That's actually really funny. I need to watch your battle reports more closely.
Watch the newest one, because
I will.
Yeah, I keep it as a running joke in it.
Single ultramarine die. So back to the tournament. The Gillimans were not seen often, and they're not something that you should plan for.
Oh, keep going.
I forgot we were going.
I think we both agreed that Gilliman is awesome and we love him. Hands down, best Primarch.
Best loyalist Primarch? Yes.
Yeah, best Primarch. Oh wait, no, that's Lion.
No, the Lion's the worst Primarch.
Oh, all right, look, we're fighting now.
I could argue this all day, fluff wise. Let's save this for a future episode, because that's a fluff talk and competitive talk.
That's why I got to get you on Adeptus podcast, so we can talk the fluff with you.
Yeah, I'd like that.
I was going to talk to the other two about it. We haven't had a guest in a while.
Corvus Corax is Reese's favorite Primarch because of his resourcefulness. I'm not personally not a big fan of Corvus, although I do like the idea of a Primarch who's actually like intelligent, like a Primarch who actually does like recon and stuff. Like, he doesn't just throw his Marines like, okay, brothers, hammer and anvil.
Oh my god.
tip of the spear. Like, he's actually like, okay, guys, so let's do some scouting. Like, oh, they have some crazy archaeotech technology that wipes out entire Space Marine battle companies. Like, oh, good thing we find that out. Hey, Shrike, how about you go over there and, well, not Shrike, obviously, but hey,
Shadow Captain of the time.
Go take out their shield for that big weapon, so we can take it out with a global, with a max shot. That's not what they're called. That's Halo. With
orbital bombardment or something like that.
Orbital bombardment. I don't know what they call their orbital bombardment shots.
It's usually a macro battery.
A macro battery shot, whatever, right?
Depends.
Chorus is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I love Guilliman. Guilliman's awesome. I wish more people could run him in tournaments, but I'm kind of glad that he's not showing his face, because when I start going to tournaments, I'm going to start using him a lot more again, because I feel like he has a place in the meta. No, he did not kill the Guilliman.
I was so close. I'm good. I promise.
Right. So, I guess moving on to the rest of the... You said you wanted to know more about the other events at the Las Vegas Open?
Yeah, what other events were there, and how did the 30K event do?
So right now, 30K is in a rough spot. Forge World doesn't release things as fast as GW.
Yeah.
And that's starting to show in 30K, because even though they got their cool new books, and they announced that they're going to be sticking with 7th edition for the foreseeable future, they didn't get much else. 30K is definitely, I don't want to say it's dying, but it's getting old. It's getting kind of... Yeah. Rogel Dorn just came out, but if you wanted to make your game, roaring and entertaining and lively, Rogel Dorn is not your Primarch. No. I'm sorry. He's he's a Primarch, but he's like Dorn.
Yeah. Yeah, why not Lion? Why not somebody interesting? They still don't have Lion, right?
No. I don't think they've released the Lion yet. Released Sanguinus or Khan. They still have a few Primarchs to go.
Yeah, but nobody cares really about Yagatai Khan.
No, but Sanguinus would be like, that's the model everyone wants to see. But anyway, so back to 30K. Imperial Knight in the chat. I've actually got a great thing to say about Blood Bowl and at the LVO. Before that, 30K is slowly losing popularity and losing steam, and that was seen at the Las Vegas Open, where 2 years ago we had the largest 30K event in the world, singles event in the world. We had over 100 people easily, but that was when 7th edition was really like
at its peak,
starting to wear
done
on people.
Yeah.
So and then last year, 30K took a bit of a dive. No, I'm so sorry. So 2 years ago, 30K was on its way to being the best, and 7th edition was actually doing all right. And then last year, if you remember, Guilliman was just announced. There were 8th edition rumors on the horizons last year, and a lot of people jumped ship to 7th edition and moved to 30K. So we had our largest 30K tournament ever last year. So this year, now that 8th edition's out, and you don't just see this in 30K, you actually see this in all games, like X-Wing, Privateer Press, Valifo, Infinity. It's when 8th edition hit, when GW flexed their muscles, the gaming, tabletop wargame community kind of just stopped for a second. They're like, because GW is still the top dog, like, without a doubt. They're,
I got a joke about this, though. What was it? War Machine and Hordes was really popular, and then 8th edition attacked.
Everything was fine in the War Machine and Hordes universe until Games Workshop attacked.
Here's 8th edition. We'll take all of your players, yes, please.
Yeah, and they're doing a good job. Privateer Press is they're struggling, and they're kind of changing their philosophy. I think it's probably for the better. But this isn't a War Machine and Hordes talk. Enough of that nonsense, that heresy. So 30K. We had to cancel one of our 30K events. I don't think we canceled it. I think we just moved everyone in one of the 30K events into the 30K narrative, or the 30K narrative was just a bigger event. And I don't know exactly the full story there. I didn't get a chance to talk to the TO. But essentially, I was getting to just have a 30K event, narrative event for next year, and that's it for 30K. So that's not a great sign, right? But maybe, you know, the Forge World releases some stuff and builds up their game and their IP a little bit more. We'll see. There's that Horus Heresy VR game that's coming out that might draw more people back into 30K. We'll see. But 30K is not looking too good in terms of popularity. Now, Imperial Knight in the chat was asking about Blood Bowl is looking very good in terms of small communities. So Blood Bowl's not expanding, going at a rate so that'll, you know, beat all the other games. But the people who do play Blood Bowl play it, you know, play the crap out of it essentially. And at the LVO that was no exception. Out of all of our tournaments, Blood Bowl is the Blood Bowl event is the only event to have no dropouts.
Oh wow!
Hold on. So they had perfect attendance, right? No one dropped out. None of our events do that. They've done it twice in a row.
Holy crap!
All right, I have to cough again.
While he's doing that, I'm going to talk about Blood Bowl for a second. Right now, we're having the second annual Ego Cup for Blood Bowl. This is a Discord. Imperial Knight actually runs it in the Discord. He's one of the mods in my Discord. He's a terrific person, and he runs the Blood Bowl League tournament. And it is a lot of fun. A lot of people get together. They play Blood Bowl. And yeah, they just go from there. And it's the computer game version of it. So I don't know too much about it, but I know that they love it. They play it a lot, and it's really cool. So it's cool to see that Knight is actually keeping the virtual community alive as well. Come to my Discord. We literally play every single 40K and Warhammer related game.
Nice. Yeah, Imperial Knight, way to go, man. Blood Bowl, the Blood Bowl communities, every single one I've seen has been hardcore, and they've loved it and they've stuck around. I really want to get into it as well. There's unfortunately the closest league is a few hours away from me. Have actually fantasy drafts, so they'll fantasy draft Blood Bowl players, and then they'll actually have a fantasy league where, you know, the more kills the player gets, they get points, etc. And at the end, there's a Oh yeah, all right, it's a full on league. It's crazy.
Pablo, I'm going to need to know how they do that in exact, and I want to send it to Knight so he can do that for the virtual stuff.
I'll tell you right now, Knight. It's very easy. They get a list of all the players. They get a list of all the I guess because the players are anyways. So the owners, the actual human people who run everything, and then their players, their rosters. And then the owners are supposed to rank their players from number 1 to number 10 and give like a tiniest of descriptions why. Like, this is Skull Smasher, he's the best. Whatever, right? Like the tiniest little reason why. And then as the leagues go on, you start updating that. So you go like, this is Skull Smasher of Eldar skulls, right? Because he's killed like the most Eldar or whatever. Or
oh god, Knight with titles.
Right. Aveline, the Dark Eldar assassin, 53 confirmed kills or whatever. So this thing, and then you fantasy draft. You draft the normal fantasy draft paper way, where you have the giant roster thing, and then when someone drafts a player, you X that player, and then that player puts that player, the player. So you have your fantasy draft. Owner drafts a player in their fantasy roster, and then the player gets X'd out, and then the owner gets that player.
That is
and then when players die,
crazy.
It's awesome. The way they do it when they're explaining it to me, it was just insane. And also when players die, it's like this huge deal. You know, like there was this MVP dwarf player who would single-handedly beat Skaven, like the leading Skaven and the leading Dark Eldar or Dark Elf player. This dwarf player like just single-handedly beat both of these teams just by being a badass. And so they named him the MVP for that season, and then named him the MVP for next season because no other player did as well as he did last season.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they were like, you know what? No other player deserves to be the MVP. And when he died, he got killed by a little goblin. Not a little goblin. This goblin's actually kind of had his own little reputation. but he was killed by a goblin on a stupid fluke.
Oh my god.
Really upset. So they actually had like a mini funeral for him, and they had to retire. The dwarf player retired his number.
Oh my god, that's so awesome.
Yeah, these guys are intense.
All right, so I gotta somehow set that up. I do feel bad for 30K. I love it, and I do notice that like at Adepticon it's already sold out, all of their events for 30K. And I wanted to join in there because I wanted to bring my Death Guard and actually do Death Guard stuff with Garrow, and actually be able to field Garrow as Garrow, not Garrow Man. Or Gillero.
That's great.
Because if I'm playing for fun, like my chapter is the Sons of Garrow, I bring Nathaniel Garrow on his hero base and everything, and I've run him as Gilliman. And if anybody really has a problem with it, I'm just like, look, they're on the same size base. He's just a little tiny bit shorter. It's my chapter's icon.
Who cares?
Yeah.
So moving on to the other event I really want to talk about. There were other. There was Malifaux, Privateer Press. If you have a chance to go to our Frontline Gaming Facebook page, the business page, go to our videos. You can look at Tyson's terrain for the Privateer Press tournament. Amazing. It would make every 40K player within a 100-mile radius cream their pants. That's how gorgeous this terrain is, and he's got 5 sets.
Oh my god.
So go check that terrain out. It's beautiful. Tyson does a great job.
After this goes onto my YouTube channel, I will be posting a link to as much as I can in the comment section down below. So if you are not watching this live, you can just check down below and get the links and everything, and be sure to check those out. Also, support Frontline Gaming. They're awesome. They've always been nice to me, and I love the guys. They're amazing.
Oh. So that's all I have to say about the Privateer Press stuff. X-Wing, Malifaux, Infinity. The Infinity tournament was pretty cool. If you play Infinity, you're listening to this. There was a lot of people showed up to our Infinity tournament. It's been growing every year, and of course, the Infinity terrain is insane. They brought 20 tables and filled them all up, and every single table was Infinity level. So they were all beautiful, fully painted. There's really interesting themes. It was great. The Infinity guys did a great job with the event, and they do one every year. So the final real event I wanted to talk about was the narrative event. Every year for the last 3 years, the Las Vegas Open has pulled out an amazing narrative event. We've always had positive experiences with it. We've always had people want to come back next year, and it's something I'm particularly proud of because I think it's important to have events for everyone when you go to convention. So we have like a friendly event, a 30K event, a 40K champs event. We have small RTTs on Sunday for people who still want to play more 40K, but they're eliminated, so they can't play 40K champs. And then we have the narrative event for narrative players who want to just have a good time.
This is something
and
that
enjoy their fluff.
I did this at Nova Open, and I got to fight a gargantuan Squiggoth. I've never fought one before, and it was so much fun. That
model's so good still. I think it's old too now, but it's such a great model. So this narrative event this year was ran by a different crew. So normally we have the narrative guys run our events. The last couple of years they did, and they bring these gorgeous set pieces of terrain. Last year they had like a hive world where you had the hive world and the huge wall that protected the hive world, and then the inside of the hive world, and then outside were a bunch of bunkers, and there were holes blown in it, and the chaos players were attacking this hive world, and they could drop pod through those holes into the hive city. It was insane.
Oh my god!
It was probably like a 10 by 10 table, ridiculous. And this wasn't the only good table. They had a corn palace with a river of blood and skulls.
Oh my god!
Right? Yeah, like I get chills just thinking about playing on those set pieces. So this year we didn't have that, unfortunately.
Oh, that sucks.
Okay, and it's tough bringing out all that terrain. So we found another guy, Justin. He's a local guy. I was actually in his narrative campaign, and I've been in a lot of 40K narrative campaigns. I actually really love playing in narrative campaigns, and his was by far the best narrative campaign I've ever played in. out here. It was so good, in fact, that all the fluff we had written out for all our stories, he compiled into a book. Book. And it flowed. He filled in all the gaps. It was insane. It was crazy. Like Justin just did an insane job with this campaign. So we trusted him, and he succeeded. The reason why I mentioned casual players, the casual meta being important, and why GW should look at it, campaign.
Sorry, I just want to say filthy casuals right now. I don't mean it, but it has to be said. Okay, I got it out of my system.
So this narrative event was, overall, everyone had a great time. It was essentially Chaos versus Imperium with like Savage Xenos, who are orks. I'm not sure if Tyranids, orks and Tyranids, I think, were the primary Savage Xenos, and then the high-tech Xenos, or I forgot what he called them. It was like classy Xenos or something like that, who were Eldar and Tau and Necrons. So you had these two Xenos factions, plus the Chaos, plus the Imperium, and the Chaos and Imperium were fighting over the control of the planet, but the Xenos armies could mess with each other, or mess with them. I like it. So there's a cutthroat player in San Diego. I'm not going to name him. He's an Eldar player. He's in general considered a competitive player. He's not run harder lists. He's definitely trying to tune back his play and trying to get into the more fluff and narrative side, which is why he played in the narrative event. But he still had a Dark Reaper Eldar list, like a crazy competitive Eldar list. He could have gone to the 40k champs and went 4-2 with it easily. This hard-nosed Eldar list. And this other guy, who's another good friend of mine, who's also a similar type of personality in that he knows his rules extremely well, better than well. He knows the game really well. He's in tune with the competitive meta, and he wanted to play a narrative event too because he doesn't like playing in the 40k champs. He doesn't like that tournament feel. He wants a narrative feel. So both of these Eldar players, these really good players with really good lists, destroy everyone they come up with. They go undefeated.
Yeah.
Just beat them all in pulp. There's a point when there were some orc players, and they came up to me and they're like, PD Pob, come here. And I was like, oh no, what's going on? And they're like, dude, these Eldar players are killing us. And the Eldar players had literally tabled these. It was a 2v3, by the way. These Eldar players had literally tabled all these poor orc players and were just owning their quadrant and shooting into the orc players in the next table.
Oh my god.
It was bad.
Yeah.
So as someone who likes narrative campaigns like that bothers me a little bit, because those Eldar players, they were running really good lists, but narrative wise, the lists weren't. There was nothing wrong with them. You didn't see Jane Czar leading a squad of striking scorpions.
Yeah, you don't see anything that hurts the fluff.
Yeah, you didn't see like a Wraith Knight running around with Guardians or whatever, right? No, there were no fluff baking stuff to the list. It's a little elite, right? But the Phoenix Lords made sense. The lists made sense. And these Eldar players are just destroying these poor orc players. And from what I heard, the rest of the campaign, essentially what happened was the Eldar just killed everyone they ran into. They were in the planet looking for some technology or runes or something. They killed everyone to get to it, grabbed it, and then just ran out. And then Chaos blew up the planet. Eldar just did this strike mission. Right. They were just, Special Forces Eldar went into this planet, obliterated everyone, and then just got the F out.
That's kind of sounds fluffy, though.
It is. It's
like, I hate to say it, that is exactly fluffy.
Eldar would absolutely destroy 90% of the armies they run up against. So that is also really fluffy, but I feel like that's also a bit of a problem. So you can fix it or address it and also not affect the faction and make it completely unplayable. But that's just something I wanted to bring up. That was the most interesting thing about the narrative campaign. And I thought, I'd give you guys a little bit of food for thought.
I actually, speaking of narrative campaigns, one of the big things that I'm going to be doing when I move down to Arizona is I'm going to be building multiple gaming tables. And it's all going to be for one giant campaign. I am waiting right now for Battlefleet Gothic ships, because I kind of have a feeling that partnership with WYSIWYG is going to bear the Battlefleet Armada stuff, especially once the game goes and becomes successful because it's Battlefleet Gothic. But if they do make new miniatures, I'm going to be buying those, or I'm going to be buying the classic miniatures. And you're going to have, I've talked about this before on my Discord, and I've been leveling out the details like crazy. It's going to be played like a giant game of Risk, except in orbit, you assign a certain amount of points to each ship based on how many units it can hold. And if those ships die in space, you lose that chunk from your army because they just died in the void.
That's awesome.
And one of the big things is you got to make planetfall. You got to take the planet, and you got to go on to a different planet and do that. So to conquer like a tile on a planet, you have to do 3 missions. 3 missions. One is Necromunda, or the other skirmish fighting game. I forgot what
Teams?
Kill Teams, or what was it actually called? I can't remember. Was it just called Kill Teams?
I think it was just Kill Team.
You know which one I'm talking about. Then you have to play in the metroplex of the place itself. You have to play a what is it called when you play inside of a building? It's the Forge World thing.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, Zone Mortalis.
Zone Mortalis, and then you do an open war mission for the whole continent, I guess. And then you move on and you do those missions everywhere else. And if you beat each one of the missions, you get to bring an extra 500 points to that final mission. So you can do whichever mission you want first, but you're hindered if you don't do the other 2 missions with it.
I like that. That's interesting. And if you were... Go ahead.
So the whole idea is that both players write down a 10,000 point full fluff army. And what's banned? There are banned lists. No named characters. Right off the list, banned. All of your characters that you bring, all of your captains and everything, they have to make fluff sense. So for Space Marines, you have to bring a battle company. And your characters need to have names. And they need to, like, all of your sergeants and everything. Shadow War was the name. Thank you, chat. All of your characters need to have names. Your sergeants can get promoted during the missions themselves. Like, you can be like, this sergeant just performed, like, extremely well, so he's being promoted to a captain. And that's going to be something that I add to the fluff. And I want this to all be story-driven. So I'm going to be playing in Segmentum Obscurus, and you're going to be fighting against things. And the planets themselves are going to have armies. There's going to be Genestealer cults, demonic invasions, cultists, a Tyranid Yumgarl uprising, Necron Tomb World, the Eldar are going to show up. And I really love this idea because if you don't do all the missions, you don't discover what the other army is that you're going to be fighting until it's too late.
Have you ever played Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original one?
Yes,
and
I
played
have.
Galactic Conquest?
Yes, I have.
That's what it reminds me of, but better.
Because it's 40k, and 40k makes everything better.
But no, that sounds really cool. If you find the players for that and get that going, we can definitely work out some sort of small deal with FLG mats, Frontline Gaming neoprene mats. We'll get you some space mats or something.
Ooh.
Just we'll talk later. That's not we don't have
that's
to talk
future
this
plan.
right now.
That is 1 year from now. I have been working on this. I have an entire notebook filled with notes and everything that's going to happen in it. Anyway, that's where I like to sit. I like the narrative side of things. Like when I want to in the future, when I actually have time to do battle reports properly, where I can actually invite somebody to play a battle report so it's nice and quiet and everything, and I'm not trying to rush. Because that's one of the biggest problems on my channel right now is my battle reports aren't as good as I want them to be because of background noise. But I can't just be like, guys, shut up, I'm filming. I would never do that. I'm way too nice. But I want to set up battle reports, but I want them to be narrative. I want them to have story. I don't... Or I just want to be like, this is a competitive game. We are doing this mission. These are the armies. They are meant to be OP. And things like that.
Nice. Yeah. It's definitely not easy filming battle reports for 40K. I can attest to that 100%. Mini
Yeah.
wargaming, what they do, like them or hate them, they've got it down to an art and to a science. Also, tabletop tactics. Lawrence Baker, tabletop tactics. I want to give him a shout out.
Tactics, Winters, he does really good battle reports. Striking Scorpion does amazing battle reports. Glacial Geek is one of the new ones that I found, and I love him. He's amazing.
A great guy too. He was at the Las Vegas Open.
Yeah, I know. I actually talked to him. We're friends on Facebook. He's a terrific person. I do love the mini wargaming crew. They're all amazing. And I do take a lot of inspiration from a lot of these other channels and how they do things. Like, I want mine to be a little bit different, so I do the introduction, and then I do an army showcase where, you know, you just get some panoramic view of the armies themselves, the nicely painted models, to music, and then you go into the lists and everything like that. Yeah.
That sounds really cool. But narrative 40K is, I think, my favorite way to play the game. It's also the hardest way to play the game, I felt. It's just, you know, getting all the people and the time that you need to play. So come to the Las Vegas Open if you want to play some narrative 40K for the weekend. We bring everything. All you need to do is bring an army and good spirits.
Are you going to be at Adepticon?
Yeah, this will be the first time I'm going to Adepticon.
Oh, good. I get to beat you again. I mean, we get to play again.
I really need to think of a really good Adepticon list, but I got a good steal on tickets. There was a deal, and I got my tickets round trip $200.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, to Chicago from San Diego, yes, please. So this will be the first time I go to Adepticon. I'm super excited. That means that I'll have gone to Nova, Adepticon, and obviously the Las Vegas Open in one calendar year. So I would have done the trifecta.
Yeah.
Of really cool conventions. GT in the UK, they've hit, I think, 250 players for their 40K event. I think that might be one I need to go to in the future. Mm-hmm. And then CanCon in Australia, I need to go to next. Essentially, there's a lot of conventions in 40K.
Oh, just be careful about Australia. Places. Okay.
There's giant snakes.
No. Their country was actually, they lost the Emu War. Their country has actually been taken over by them, and the emus have impersonated people. Just warning you now.
As long as they're not cassowaries, I'm okay with emus, because they're a little less intimidating than cassowaries, who are little tiny birds that will disembowel you in the blink of an eye with their legs.
This is Australia. Everything's gonna kill you. I wouldn't be surprised if instead of tyranids, they actually just like brought wild creatures and put them on the table.
Yeah, they're like, I can't do an Australian accent, but there's so many good conventions, and I can't wait to go to Adepticon.
You're gonna have to tell me of all of them so that we can meet up at each one of them and actually like get some good games. I want to start doing more tournament play and everything like that, but I kind of want to go to these for narrative play.
Absolutely.
Because that's what I really like. I like narrative. I like not so, and I get accused of being a power player because my local meta isn't power players, but it's just like that inch below a power player. You know, that niche where they're all like super nice, super chill, but at the same time they have lists that'll annihilate you turn one.
You are what I would call casually competitive.
Yeah.
Though I think you have every right. You know, you have every capability to be full on, you know, competitive and win GTs. But casually competitive players are players who like to do well, and they win. They go to tournaments, but they do it in their own way. They do it in their own terms. They won't compromise their morals. They won't cheat. They won't net list, et cetera, et cetera. But they will go to tournaments, and they do try to win. They optimize their lists. That's kind of what the bread and butter of tournaments is. That's what the 90% of the people you'll run into are exactly like that, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we covered everything of LVO.
I wanted to talk about to people who were interested in 40K and going to the LVO. There was a lot of drama, a lot of really good stuff. And I love I love narrative events, but the thing I love the most is competition and the narrative that drives competition. The NFL, Magic, 40K, League of Legends, the LCS, any form of competition has its own internal narrative, right? Like
It does.
there are rivals, yeah, and I live for that. I live for that competition. It's my favorite thing. So if you go to the Las Vegas Open or you're interested in that same thing and that same competitive narrative, I highly recommend listening to my podcast. Listen to this. Go to the Las Vegas Open, going to Adepticon, going to Nova, and just immersing yourself in the tournament scene. You don't have to play in the tournament scene to enjoy it, which is where we're moving towards for the Las Vegas Open. We want media coverage. We want to make it a spectacle. We want to make it something that people enjoy seeing, so that they don't have to necessarily go to our tournament or compete in the 40K champs and deal with tournament players or deal with players that they might not want to play. Not that I'm saying you wouldn't want to play the players at the LVO 40K champs. I think you do, 100%. I think we have the best players in the world. I'll fight any of the large TOs, but I'll still fight them to prove that. I think by far we have the best 40K players in the world, the best temperament. We have the best guys. Even people like Tony Grappando who pull that kind of stuff and are seen as generally negative. Even those guys are great guys.
Whoop, you're cutting out a little bit.
So if you want to go to a tournament, you want to immerse yourself, there are ways to do it for every single kind of person. Whether you want to play in it, whether you want to read about it or talk about it and laugh about it, or whether you want to watch it and enjoy it and experience it, the Las Vegas Open is trying to bring that to everyone.
And that's why I intend to go to it every year along with Adepticon and Nova. Like, I want to go to the trifecta every single year. And I look forward to anybody there that wants to meet and greet, play a game against me, and just genuinely have fun at these events. Like 40K events, they're way different than any convention that I've ever been to.
And therefore you're surrounded. Oh, go ahead. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Because I'm used to going to anime conventions. Like, I got an anime convention coming up. You can actually see my Demon Prince cosplay in the back that I'm still working on. That is a nightmare because it's super heavy and super takes up a huge amount of room. But I love that kind of thing. Like, I want to bring some of that to LVO and like all the trifectas. I want to show like the other side of the community that the competitive players don't see, as the cosplayers, the casuals. And I kind of want to do some of that. I think it would be really fun.
100. We need cosplayers at the Las Vegas Open anyways, and that's the thing about these conventions. You hit it right on the nose, is that they're fun to go to. You know, you're surrounded, the 40K one specifically, you're surrounded by your brothers and sisters. We like to argue a lot in the community, on Facebook, online.
On Facebook, you can argue everything.
But you know, our community, I feel like the 40K community that I'm a part of is an amazing community. Ultimately, if it came down to the real world, and I were sitting down at a party, no one to talk to, and I saw a dude with a word bearer shirt, even though he's wearing a word bearer shirt, I'm still gonna go talk to that guy.
Yeah,
he could have blasted me on Facebook an hour before. You're saying P.O.Box sucks. He's the shittiest Ultramarine player in the world, and I would still go talk to that guy. That's brotherhood. That's family. That's a community.
Well, unless they have a Tau
undeniable. Tau. I love Tau players too. A lot. I know they get a lot of steam.
I'm just messing.
That's really funny. But what I love is the 40K community, and going to the Las Vegas Open exacerbates that. It promotes that, and just going to any convention. Glass City, which is the one you went to. No, you went to the Golden Sprue Cup. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I went to Golden Sprue, and that was a really fun event.
Yeah, I got
really drunk, and it was awesome.
Nice. Just, you know, if you're someone who's worried about tournaments, who doesn't understand, or not maybe not doesn't understand, but maybe who's worried about going to a tournament and having a bad time, or who has thinks that in general tournaments are a negative thing, that they're not.
No, they're a lot of fun.
And a lot of times. And the cool thing is the more people that go to tournaments, the less tournament-y they become. What I mean by that is, if let's say let's take the Bay Area Open for example, Frontline Gaming's first large tournament. At first, it was just a tournament. They had it in a barn, and then they started expanding it and adding vendors when more people started bringing their friends and their family. They're like, oh, we got to give these friends and family that they're bringing something to do. So, they brought vendors, they brought other games that people wanted to play, that they just had extra space for. And then it turned into something bigger. And that's what the Las Vegas Open is. The more people that show up, the less it becomes just about the tournament and more about the community. And that's the biggest reason why I want people to get over the stigma of 40K tournaments being a negative thing, because ultimately we have power and we make things that we want them to become. Players who don't like tournaments want to go to a tournament, they will make it not a tournament and they will make it a convention, and that's better for everyone.
Yep.
For everyone completely, for 100%.
Also, those toxic members of Facebook groups and things like that, they tend to just stay home.
Yeah. Very true. There are haters that consistently, they talk negative things about just any aspect of the community. It doesn't even have to be about 40K tournaments. And those people in general are the vocal minority, and they usually don't, at the end of the day, end up spending money or end up contributing anything positive to the community. That's not always the case, but in general, it's more of this like, don't shit where you eat mentality. Whereas eventually, people who really, but who also love the 40K community, eventually those guys mellow out. But people who don't mellow out, people who just spew hatred and want to divide in the community, I feel like they're not really a part of it.
No, they're just that. They're just that little person that's trying to be a part of something big, and everybody just kind of like, go away. Yeah. It's like the Tau. I'm so sorry. I took 2 jabs at the Tau. They can't even handle one.
But anyways, the community aside, having me on, Alexis, and for talking about the Las Vegas Open.
We do have questions.
Just about to say that I want to answer. I love answering questions. I saw a bunch of really good ones in the chat.
Yep. Corvus, you've been grabbing them, correct?
Aye. So, first question. Alexis, how many Sisters of Battle do you have? And what army does Pablo play?
I currently have 5,400 points of Sisters of Battle. That includes 5 Repressors, 6 Immolators, 3 Exorcists, 4 Penitent Engines, 3 Saint Celestines, because why not? The Priests, dozens of Battle Sisters. I use a lot of third-party stuff, but I'm slowly starting to switch that with the actual models or with something that looks closer to them. But yeah, I have a lot of points of Sisters.
You have everything, too, as well.
I do.
Yeah, but I play... I'm in a little bit of a 40K conundrum right now. I would say my primary army is still Ultramarines. They are my first love. I will always play Ultramarines default as long as I can. I'm a huge Ultramarines fan.
I gotta say, I actually always loved the Ultramarines.
But I have 5 Imperial Knights now. So I have an official Knight army. All generally the same color scheme. I just need to paint up two dudes who are playing black. But I have a Knight army that I really like. And then in general, I have a little splashes of Imperium. So I've always really liked the Ultramarines, but I always like buying little things. Like I have a Deathwatch kill team. I have I have a few Grey Knights. I don't have any Space Wolves. I don't like Space Wolves.
That's the one Imperial army that I just don't like either.
It's just, they're kind of I don't want to get too much into Space Wolves because every time I bash Space Wolves, there's always one guy who's like, "Ah, combat's trial by combat."
They're gonna come and bite you in the ass. It's okay. Just use a vacuum cleaner. They'll run for the hills.
They'll run away. But yeah, I just don't really like Space Wolves. I don't like their fluff or their models. But Imperial agents like Inquisition assassins, all those guys, I have all of them. I'm getting Custodes are the one Imperium army that I don't have that I need to have a splash of. So essentially, to answer your question,
That
I'll answer
army.
your question. I play Ultramarines primarily with a splash of Imperium goodness and Knights. All I play. I don't have any other armies.
All right.
Okay, then we have 4 questions for Pablo directly. Can we have Pablo in an episode of Adeptus Podcasters?
Consider it in the works.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to come on Adeptus Podcasters.
Pablo, what do you think about the new Custodes rules?
So here's the deal about that codex. People are going to trash on it.
Yes, I did.
People are going, you did. I know you did. And for good reason.
I was only pissed because of 80 pages.
It's a small codex. It really is. But
And no Forge World. And Sisters of Silence weren't in there.
there's one model in that codex that is going to break the game, I think.
The shield captain on a jet bike?
Yes.
Yep.
That model is insane. So I don't know. It's not even broken. Like I don't want to see that model get FAQ'd. I'd rather see a restriction on HQ choices or something that stops people from spamming that model. But that model is just ridiculous. It is so good. It's fast. It has hurricane bolters, a heavy rapid fire 6 hurricane bolter, so it shoots 12 shots at BS2. It hits like a truck. It's got a ton of wounds. I think it's T6 because it's on a bike.
T6, 7 wounds, 5 attacks, with a lance that
Save,
has +1 strength, AP -3, D3 damage.
Cheap too. It comes in at under 200 points. That thing is cheap. That thing is amazing. So what I think about the Custodes Codex in whole is Captain on a bike. It's Codex Shield Captain on bike.
Yeah, he's the new Captain Smashfucker.
The rest of the Codex, the elites, the fun stuff.
Yeah,
That's pretty much it.
Wonderful. Next question. Pablo, what is your take on third-party models in competitive tournaments?
As a guy who works for Frontline Gaming, I have to deal with a lot of people asking me if their third-party models are okay or if their conversions are okay. So, in general, I think I don't want to trash on companies like Raging Heroes who put out cool models, but you have to understand that we work closely with Games Workshop, and we ultimately want 40K to succeed. My personal opinion is that I think you should leave the third-party models at home.
My sister army.
No, I know. It's hard for me to say, especially with sisters players who've just been, in terms of modeling wise, they've just been shat on, right? Like they need new models.
Yes.
But as someone who has not only has a vested interest in GW's success, but also someone who is a bit of a purist when it comes to conversions in WYSIWYG and third-party models. I like to see the GW models. I just have a little bit more of an aesthetic. Now, that doesn't mean, and this is all personal, by the way. None of this is Frontline Gaming, like Frontline Gaming decisions. Like I'm just speaking as Pablo, not as a Frontline Gaming representative, guys. Just to be clear. So don't go to your ITC organizer and be like, PD Pob on EgoqueenAlexis stream said that no one could bring third-party models, so everyone has third-party models, so I win the tournament. Like, don't do that, guys. Come on. I feel like in general third-party models don't capture the aesthetic that I like out of 40K. There's always something I don't like about them. Either they're too skinny and they're too, maybe they're too like cutesy or too sexy or there's too much something about them that I just don't like. So if there's a third party model that can hide itself well in a 40K army, I'm like, okay, cool. Like that's fine. That's cool.
Like ChinaCast, which is
that's completely different topic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what was the joke? 232 Fire Raptors, 6 sold by Forge World since last year. Something like that.
Yeah, it's really a shame. That whole situation, I think, is tough for from a business standpoint. But obviously, as someone who I bought my army on eBay for Ultramarines, that's how I built my first Ultramarines army. Actually, I've had two Ultramarines army. I built one just off of eBay. I called it the Blue Rainbow, because it was all different shades of blue from buying Ultramarines on eBay. I sold that entire thing, restarted, and now I'm starting my new Ultramarines army, which is primarily one shade of blue. But for me to say that like China Forge models are bad, right? But I feel like they are. I would only use them for niche models that aren't in production anymore.
Like
that you still need to run and rules, like the repressor, right? So I think in that case, I would say it's more acceptable. But in general, as I work closely with GW and Forge World, I'm more and more against things like China cast and third-party models and 3D printed models. Just because I love what GW does. So unfortunately, that's just my opinion. But yeah.
Fair enough. Question. Any tips for beginners? And I think he meant tournaments because, yeah, it was brought up in this way.
Learn about them. Get that app. Yeah.
Experienced player app, for sure. Go into YouTube, go onto YouTube, go onto Google search, Google Foo, and then just listen to / watch and read how other tournament players look at tournaments. So like look at Alexis EgoQueen's recap of the Golden Sprue Cup. She is a self-admitted, relatively new tournament player. Mm-hmm. So look at her experience, and then just kind of like do your homework. It's not a thing you should take lightly. It's an investment. You're spending money to travel. You're spending a lot of time. Money from food. You're spending money on the models that you want to run. The time to the hotel room, if you're going to a hotel room. It's an investment, and treat it like such. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't prepare properly, you're going to have a bad time. And that's going to ultimately affect your perception of tournaments. I've seen this happen a few times where players, one local guy, he had trouble with having wife trouble. His wife wouldn't let him come. He ended up coming anyways, but he got into a big argument with his wife. So he was sour the entire time. It was awful. He played his first round. His first round opponent, who's one of the nicer guys I've ever met, had a really bad time. They ended up at each other's throats yelling. Right, and then at the end, they're both like, "Oh, that guy's a whack player. That guy's TFG. He's what's wrong with the hobby, the game." And they both went online and said this about each other. And the only thing it did was reinforce everyone's opinion about 40K tournaments. That's it. Even though both of these guys don't fit those labels at all. I'm very passionate about the 40K tournament community. So I want to see it succeed, and things like that just drive me nuts. So that would be my biggest thing for beginners. The usual stuff is bring snacks, make sure you have a game plan, and go with friends.
Make sure you have
friends are important.
Make sure you have plenty of printouts of your tournament list.
And there are endless guides online for for preparing for a tournament and going to your first event as someone who's a newer player. There are tons of guides online, so I kind of wanted to stay away from the stuff that you'll hear in all of those. But anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a place in competitive for Titans and or Knights?
Alexis Seguin says no. I think
I say no
that
because
personally
they don't really have a way of grabbing all the objectives and doing the secondaries and...
Yeah, I mean, that's true. They're definitely designed for a different game, right? They're designed for APOC. They're not designed for 2,000-point games. Is there a place for them? I think so.
Like one or two of them being an assistant to an army, yes, but...
Yeah, and it's also... you're absolutely right, too. It's also model dependent, right? Like a Baneblade, sure, fine. A Warhound Titan or Warlord Titan, like, hell no. Not even close. But GW obviously thinks that they don't have a place in 40K, or very specific ones don't have a place in 40K.
Yeah. Ironically, I almost brought my Titan as as my entire 2,000 point 40k army.
Oh my gosh. Um, but yeah, I don't think they have a place in competitive 40k. Most of them don't have a place in competitive 40k.
Okay. Alexis, have you ever thought of using official assassins in your sister army? They are very effective.
I know how effective they are. I don't own the models. And I don't really want to go out of my way to buy a $25 to $50 single model. So I've kind of been ignoring them, but I do know how effective they are.
Ooh, can I plug something here?
Yeah, of course you can.
So the Frontline Gaming secondhand shop, I run it. I am the man when it comes to secondhand miniatures. We sold, I think, 9 assassins at the Las Vegas Open. I sell my assassins starting price at $12.50. And the only way they would go above that is if they were beautifully painted, and even then I wouldn't go above $15.
All right, well, now I don't have an excuse, damn it.
Right. So if you guys are interested, we do sell all of our stuff on eBay. It goes quickly. I put a Alexis assassin up there for $15, $12. It sells instantly. But this is just for you guys listening to this right now, and Alexis. If you guys want, you can email me, Frontline Gaming secondhand shop at gmail.com. I have everything. I don't just have assassins. I have, wyverns, whatever. I don't have everything at every given time. But if you keep pestering me and emailing me and saying, hey, I really need this Manticore, I really need this Basilisk, I really need this Demonette, or whatever. If I have it, I will sell it to you. And yeah, right, Sisters of Battle. I get all of those things. I move through hundreds of thousands of points worth of models every week. Like, it's insane. So I have access to all these cool models all the time, these secondhand models. So if you guys are looking for anything and you're really interested and you want to buy a model before it sells out on eBay, I like to help you guys because I also am someone who plays on a budget, who always looks for good deals to play 40K. So I sympathize with people like that. I'm not one of those secondhand dealers that charges you near MSRP prices.
Oh my god, I hate those.
Okay. Alexis, where in Arizona are you moving to?
I'm looking at North Phoenix, so Phoenix, Arizona. I have this really nice house that I kind of want to buy. It's looking really promising. I'm really hoping to get that within the next year. I've got my savings. I've got everything prepared. And when I go down there, I am going to be streaming and YouTubing full time.
Nice.
And I'm going to be trying to live my dream of being an actual YouTuber and being serious about the 40K hobby, as well as doing some more things. I'm thinking about starting up a second channel for just vlogs because I really enjoy doing my vlogs. And yeah. So Phoenix, Arizona, it's going to be, hopefully we're looking at getting down there by November.
And that's a great community. Sorry about that.
That's actually why I chose it. Like, there are 6 game stores within 20 minutes of the place that I want to go to. I have a multitude of friends. The TTS cast, a good chunk of them are down there. I have 2 of my best friends ever live in Arizona. And the gaming community is amazing. And I'm super excited about moving down there. And it's also next to the LVO, so I can actually go to that one. And I'll still be able to travel back and forth for the holidays to go and see my parents, well, go and see my mom, and go and see my family, or, the more important thing, go to the other 2 conventions that are, the important things.
Good.
All right, someone.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Oh, go ahead, Corvus. Go on, I'm done.
Okay, question for you, Pablo. Who's gonna win the Super Bowl, Patriots or Eagles?
And I'm a huge Patriots fan. I'm about to get a lot of heat. I know at least one person just shut off the chat right now. They're like, ah! I am. I'm actually not a huge Patriots fan. I'm a huge Bill Belichick fan. You have to appreciate artists. You have to appreciate people who are extremely good at what they do. even if you don't like them. I've always been of that mindset. So I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be really interesting because insanely good defense, like a surprisingly good defense. And I think it'll come down to better than the Patriots for the first 3 quarters, and then probably Tom Brady just pulls it out again. The usual. But yeah, I think the Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl.
I think there's a comment for you, Pablo, by Imperial Knight. Get out.
I thought we were getting along about the Blood Bowl stuff, buddy. Like, we're really getting somewhere. And to be fair, I want to defend myself a little here because I know he's not the only one. My dad and I are from San Diego locals, and we were huge San Diego Chargers fans. We've always been. We love the San Diego Chargers. If you guys don't know, if you guys don't follow the NFL, the Chargers moved out of San Diego to Los Angeles. Basically, give the San Diego community like a big middle finger. A community that doesn't like them. It'd be like the LVO switching to War Machine and Hordes.
And then, don't do that.
Right?
Don't. Come on.
And also like Frontline Gaming being like, okay, we're not selling 40K anymore.
You're going out of business.
That's exactly it. So the San Diego community is like, what are you doing, Dean Spanos and the Chargers? So my dad and I, a long time ago, like 6 years ago, because we saw this writing on the walls. We were like, oh shit, these guys, not only are they not doing well in the playoffs, but move. So we decided to pick a team that we both respected and loved to watch. And win and also a team that won in the playoffs, and we picked the Patriots. We're like, you know what? We like Bill Belichick, and my dad and I, which is really why I enjoy football because I love my dad. I love watching it with him. We picked the Patriots, and then ever since then I've liked them. So I have a real reason, guys.
Now, if he said he was a fan of Tau, I'd be like, all right, you know what? Have at him.
Right.
I'm sorry. # free the crew. But anyway.
Speaking of Knight, the last question is from him. Why is Rogel Dorn Bill Clinton?
He does look like Bill Clinton.
Oh yeah, that model. Yeah, they should have made him look like a serious president I can think of. William Henry Harrison looks like a really serious president, even though he died in like 30 days. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know why he looks like Bill Clinton.
But he does, though, right?
Yes, 100%.
Oh my god.
Okay, so we're done with questions right now.
Sweet. All right. So we've been going on for about an hour and 50 minutes. I know it's an hour and 47, but it's still an hour and 50 minutes. Closing thoughts, Pablo?
So the reason why I came on and listen for me on other podcasts other than my own, which is Chapter Tactics, which is a competitive 40K podcast. For those of you who've just tuned in the middle of this, I want to go on a little bit of a crusade. I want people to shed that stigma about competitive 40K tournaments and competitive 40K in general, because as Alex Fennell proved right in the beginning, a guy who's a sportsmanship, a real gentleman, he is the norm, not people like Tony, Tony's a great guy. Very, very few win at all costs, try hard players. And the reason why is because us true tournament players, either.
You guys just enjoy the game.
But the thing is, game. So I plan on doing more podcast talks. I'm planning on going on more people's, streams and just talking about the Las Vegas Open and competitive 40K in general. So keep an eye out, and also support your community leaders. If there's one thing I learned at the Las Vegas Open, it's that when people rally around a specific person, like Lawrence Baker or like EgoqueenAlexis or Paul Murphy or the mini wargaming guys or whatever, when they rally around them and really promote their content, that like it really makes the game better. Because these guys not only do they love the game, but now they're making it their full-time jobs to make the game better. Like, just think about it for a second. Let's say EgoqueenAlexis got like 10,000 PayPal subscribers tomorrow, right?
Yes, please.
The money the money that she gets to go to Phoenix, where she could potentially like create the new amazing narrative battle report that everyone loves, which will in turn inspire someone else to do something even more amazing, and maybe that person will top mini wargaming. But then mini wargaming has to step up their game.
So all around, it makes us all better.
It makes everything so please, like me, like I love my job. I've got the dream job, but you know, take the chance to really support your community leaders and the people you like watching, because your money and your support help them grow the game that you love. And I think that's ultimately why I spent an hour and 50 minutes talking to someone halfway across the country. That's my thing.
Well, thank you, Pablo. That was awesome. Like, you're an amazing person. Like, I go to events, I see you, I see the other people in the community that I love to talk to, love to hang out with. And I love meeting people at events. I love actually running into people who are like, hey, I watch your content. And I'm just like, wow, really? Yay. And I'm starting to get out there. I'm starting to get a little bit more well-known. And I know I hide behind the whole guise of, you know, EgoqueenAlexis, although I'm not egotistical, really. I promise I'm not that bad. I do want to do a lot for the community. I do want to show you guys like these amazing battles, these fully narrative, crazy games. I want, and it's why I love Dark Heresy so much. I love the narrative. I love these types of things. So with that, guys, I think we're going to end it right here. Pablo, thanks again for joining me. You're always awesome and always welcome on my channel.
Thank you for having me.
And Corvus, thank you for stepping in really quickly to grab the questions and everything. It really helped.
No problem.
But anyway, guys, I hope you have an amazing night. I'm Alexis the Ego Queen. I love you guys. Bye.